Well, welcome back, everybody. This is Pucks from the Pine Tree Pod. I'm your host, Benjamin Kennedy. Thank you for joining me here on this Thursday evening. Hope everybody is having an excellent week out there so far. In continuing my series here on playoff battleship teams, tonight we're going to take a look at the Toronto Maple Leafs, a team that continues piecing together great regular seasons only to follow them up with consistent playoff disappointments. What can we see that's potentially different for this version of the Maple Leafs as the calendar does turn us here to springtime and to playoff time? Let's talk about it. Let's get into it. 68 games in now for the Leafs. They are 41, 24, and 3, 85 points, sitting second in the Atlantic Division. Technically, really a tie with Florida, but Florida does have two more regulation wins. That's why you see the Panthers up on top for now. Home record for the Leafs 22, 13, and 1, so just fine there. 19, 11, and 2 away. So over 500. That's always what you're trying to do. Have a great home record, be at or near 500 on the road is usually a good formulation. Plus 18 goal differential as well. Over the past 10, 5, 4, and 1, but they have won the last two games. Great win last night against Colorado, a game which they had both, Canadian and American audiences. It was the only game on at that hour. Got outshot in this one. Yes, a little bit of a lucky bounce there for Matthews. Kind of an own goal there for Colorado for the game winner, but played great. I would take 7 more of those in the Stanley Cup final in a heartbeat. I think that could be a lot of fun, but a good win for them. I believe the last time they played Colorado did not go so well for the Leafs. So good game there. They do, of course, play again tonight at MSG in New York City against a very desperate New York Rangers team. So that one should be a lot of fun. A good game to check out if you're a Bruins fan here on the East Coast, staying up for that Vegas game. I'm not sure why you would. It's going to be an awful game, I'm sure, for us Bruins fans, but this could be a great game to watch while you're waiting for that one to tip off. That's here for the Leafs so far. Goals for, they're at 3.19. That's good for 10th in the league. Goals against 2.93. Good for 15th, again, as we already said, plus 18 on the goal differential. Power play has been excellent again this year. No surprise. 25.7%. Sixth in the league. And the PK rate, middle of the pack, 78.1% for them. And as they have been a very dominant face-off team, 53.6%, that is good for third. Diving into some other more advanced metrics here, this is all from moneypuck.com. Want to look at high danger chances for and against in terms of how much they're trading those high dangers and how much they're giving up there. Um, High danger shots for, they've had 258 on the season, seventh in the league, so really no surprise there. Very creative, high-end, high-octane offense. High dangers against 254, so they are giving up a few. That's 22nd in the league. They are getting some good goaltending, of course, which we will talk about here soon. Rebound goals against 24, so that's good for 13th. So they're kind of right around middle of the pack. They're giving up a few, but not overbearing there. Goals above expected, minus 1.38. That's good for 13th. Goals against above expected, minus 21.77, good for 6. So they've given up far less than what was expected. And when you add those together, goal differential above expected is 20.39. That's good for 5th in the league. So they're overall they're scoring kind of right around where people thought, giving up a lot less. Again, going to that defense and the goaltending that they're getting this year. So 5th in the league, that's a really good spot for you to be in if you're the Leafs. Another one I want to look at was percentage of shot attempts that are blocked. They are at 27.04%, good for third in the league. And then save percentage above expected on unblocked shots. So clean looks, clean shots. How are their goaltenders standing up? They're at a 0.72%. That is good for sixth in the league. So all very good, for the most part, very good metrics there for the group. Top performers, again, very familiar names here for Mitch Marner, 67 games played, 21 goals, 62 assists for 83 points. William Nylander, 68 games played, 38 goals, 33 assists for 71 points so far. Austin Matthews, of course, we know did miss some time this year, 53 games played, 27 goals, 34 assists for 61 points. John Tavares, 61 games, 27 goals, 30 assists for 57 points. And Matthew Nyes, 64 games for him, 24 goals, 20 assists for 44 points. Goaltending has been great this year for the team. Joseph Woll really coming into his own, 36 games played for him, 24 12-0 record so far. 2.70 goals against average, 908 save percentage, one shutout there on the season for him. And then Anthony Stolarz coming up, I believe, from Florida last year. 26 games as kind of the 1B goaltender there, 13 8 and 3, 2.39 goals against the 918 save percentage. So numbers slightly better there for him, also with one shutout. I think it's just been a great tandem and I think a good, big part of why they've uh, played so well and been right there near the top. So, looking back at this summer, of course, I did season predictions for each team. Kind of want to look back to see what questions I had about the team as we got into the season. So, taking a look at some of the questions I had about this team as we got ready for the season. The first one was, will Craig Berube make this a tougher, grittier team? I think a big reason why they hired him is wanted to kind of change the play on the ice a little bit. So looking at some of those numbers, they're seventh in the league right now in hits, which I know can be kind of a weird stat because every home kind of off ice official group manages that, but they have 1,571 hits. So again, good for seventh in the league. Penalty minutes, they're right around 14th in the league. So the 482 penalty minutes, no one in the top 50 listed on this team. So they don't have anybody. They don't have any Zadorovs or uh, Kastelik types out there, getting into a lot of fights or anything like that. So despite those numbers maybe not lining up with this being a tougher team, I do believe they're playing a much better, much tighter defensive game overall. But for the most part, this is the same group with kind of the same makeup, right? And listen, I don't necessarily want guys like Matthews or Nylander or Marner, out there throwing fists around, getting into fights, playing rough and tumble. Don't really want that. But I do think Berube has absolutely made a difference with how this team plays team defense. Um, been, just I think a harder team in that sense. And speaking to the defense, another question I had is, did they do enough in free agency for that defense? And I would say yes, I think so. I think they did. For the most part, they've stayed healthy. That was really my big question and big concern with the Chris Tanev signing. Loved the signing for Toronto. I was really worried about his health. He's played in 61 games this year. He's got a plus 27. So he's been just fine and been a really good fit there. OEL, he stayed healthy as well, 67 games. He's a plus 9. And of course, now you add Brandon Carlo to that mix. We're going to talk about him in a few minutes. Another piece I had here from my notes, offense, should cook as usual, right? And yeah, it has been. Five skaters with at least 21 goals or more, and McMahon right there with 18, so he'll probably most likely get to 20 before the end of the season. Uh, Question here about the captaincy and Tavares. What kind of an impact was that going to have? And I would say, at this point, at least nationally, this is not even a story, anymore. It's just kind of gone away. Not sure how much it comes up locally in the Toronto market anymore. Um, sure, there were probably a couple of awkward moments there for Tavares, perhaps, but you know, as I said this fall, I give him, I give Matthews and the team just a ton of credit for how they handled that whole situation. Yeah, and I think it was time. It was time for Matthews to have the C. I think it's been nothing but a good impact. I think they could have handled it. Had they handled it differently, it could have been a lot messy and a lot worse. But A plus with how they handled that transition. Not always easy. A question I had in the fall, and a question we still have today: Mitch Marner and his contract situation. This is going to be a big story as we continue to move closer to July 1st. He will absolutely be one of the biggest, if not the absolute biggest free agent come July 1st, assuming he's still not re signed at that point. Listen, the Tavares contract, will come off the books. So he's a UFA as well. So there'll be money there if Toronto wants to keep him, wants to sign him. But do they really want to keep him? And does Marner really want to stay at this point? Listen, post trade deadline, we know that Marner blocked that trade to Carolina, and you just wonder how that whole situation lingers from Marner. I can't imagine it's gone away for him, right? I mean, that's kind of a tough one. Um, will the playoff results and his performance could that dictate his future with the club? It just might. It just might. My best guess, and it's only a guess, is that he's gone after the season, regardless of the playoffs, right? I think he is. I could see a couple original sixes try to chase him down. Let's talk Chicago Blackhawks, perhaps. Perhaps put him on a line there with Bedard. That wouldn't be too bad for him. How about Boston? They need major help with scoring and wingers, and they will have the cap space for him. It's going to continue to be a story and one that hopefully doesn't distract the Leafs playoff push. Another question I had here is goalie tandem. Proven as solid backups. Can they prove this? As starters, meaning Walls and Stolars. Way better than I expected. I believe my take in the fall was there's definitely potential with these two, but I just need to see it. Right. I need to see them get that time, play the games and stay healthy, be consistent. Both guys have done a great job so far. Just keep Wall healthy, keep him healthy, and I think you're just fine if you're a Maple Leafs fan. Playoff team, yes, more of the same. And my comment in the fall was, yeah, probably, probably more of the same. Absolutely a playoff team, as we know. But will this be more of the same as we get to playoffs? What's different for me as I asked that question, and this time around, is as we just mentioned, the goaltending is better. The overall team defense and the play is better. Your defensive pairings are deeper and better. And you have a coach who's been there before, right? In Craig Berube. If they can win that Atlantic Division, I think that's a real key here. Avoid that first round matchup with Tampa or Florida. That could go a long ways to be a great first step in making a deeper playoff run for the boys. As of today, they would be in that 2-3 spot in the Atlantic going up against Tampa. But man, I'm just thinking about it, thinking about where the wild card is. If Toronto's able to win the Atlantic, how much fun would a Toronto Ottawa series be? Or a Toronto Montreal series? I mean, man, would that be some fun, man? Sign me up for that, please, Mr. Bettman. I'm here all day for that. Would be a lot of fun. Of course, the team making some moves at the deadline, picking up forward Scott Laughton from Philly. A little bit of a slow start for him. 6 games, no points yet, -3. I think he'll be just fine, though, getting acclimated. Should work out. And then Brandon Carlo from the Boston Bruins, defenseman. 6 games played for him, one assist so far, and a +1. Of course, being the Bruins fan that I am, I got to see Brando a lot. And listen, he was not always treated fairly by the Boston Bruins fans. They were always quick to point out his flaws and mistakes. And yeah, he was having a down year this year at the time of the trade, of course. But who wasn't having a down year in Boston this year, right? I mean, come on. Everybody on that team was having an off year. Carlo, to me, he's like that typical offensive lineman in football where you don't notice him when he's just out there doing his job, being effective. He just kind of blends in. You only see him when there's a mistake, when he falls down or has a turnover or something stupid. And that happens. But I want to take a step back and look at the plus minus for Carlo over the years. I know it's a little bit of an outdated stat, but I just want to take a look at this. In 2016, 2017, he was a +9. 17-18, a +10. 18-19, he was a +22. 19-20, a +16. A 2021, a +1. A 21-22, a +2. 23-24, or 22-23, I should say, a 44, +44. Last year, he was a +23. And this year, even though kind of a struggle year, +2. We know this is more of a kind of a team stat, but listen, when you just look at that over that group of years, like he did more good than bad for you. The Leafs paid a heavy price to get him. Love the trade for both clubs. For you Toronto fans, you've got a quality defenseman who's steady, he's consistent, not super physical, but does his job, and he's an A plus human being, A plus culture guy, in the dressing room type of guy. Awesome, awesome dude. So you guys should be very happy with having him over on your club. Potential, kind of just looking at the playoffs here, I guess, looking at some of the odds, some of the books right now. Bet MGM, in terms of the Stanley Cup odds, has the Maple Leafs at a plus 1300, DraftKings a plus 1200, FanDuel plus 1500. Looks like all the books kind of have the Maple Leafs in and around that top 10. So certainly a favorite, one of the favorites going in, as we know. Taking a look here, and I have it on the board here. Records this year so far against other Eastern Conference playoff teams. Of course, you had the Florida Panthers. Haven't had much luck there. 0-2. Tampa, you've had great luck. 3-0. Some good games there with the Leafs or with the Bolts, and that could be your first round matchup. Ottawa 0-3. So that's been a little bit of a struggle for the team. Going down to Washington 1-2. Carolina 1-1. Done a good job against your old coach there in New Jersey 3-0. And then some teams that may just make it in. Montreal, you're 2-1. You got those New York Rangers tonight so far, 1-1 against them, and Detroit 2-1. So when we add all that up, it's the 13-11 record, just a shade over 500. So not horrible. Well, not horrible. You get into a matchup with Florida or Ottawa, that hasn't gone so well for you. But the playoffs are a whole different ball of wax, whole different season. But just always kind of curious to look at that and see how teams have fared. My questions, to any Leaf fans out there listening, is this the best team Toronto has assembled in the Austin Matthews era? Is this your best chance to win a Stanley Cup? Yeah, Florida's still really good, but they're beatable this year, sure, right? They're beatable. The Tampa Bay solid, yes, but very top heavy. Their nemesis for all these years, the Boston Bruins, they've checked out. They're out of the way. They're not nothing to worry about. So we know Washington's having a great year. We know Carolina can be a tough team, tough defensively, hard hitting type of team. But overall, I'd say this is probably, the Leafs' best opportunity to win the East and take a shot at that Stanley Cup. I really do feel that way. Um, Listen, this is the best goalie play you've had in ages, the best team defense you've put out in a long time, I would say. And you have solid scoring depth as you always have up and down your lineup, and a bench boss in Craig Berube that's been there before, won the Stanley Cup. Listen, I know Leaf fans go through this process every year, and I'm sure many of you have been burned by this. This growing hope every year, so many years in a row, right? You guys have experienced this. Um, so many good regular seasons and so many flops in the playoffs. But as we've noted here today, I believe there are enough differences with this club from years past that should give you hope for potentially a long playoff run this spring. I cannot wait for it. I've watched enough bad hockey this year. I'm ready for some good hockey, ready for some good playoff hockey. So should be a lot of fun. Anyway, guys, that's what we have here on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Thank you all for watching and listening. If you do like what you're hearing, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button down below. Do appreciate that. And until next time, everybody, be kind, show love, and God bless.